We're going to be concluding Percy Jackson and the Olympians today, which book 3, The Titan's Curse. We are reading chapter 20, which is the final chapter of the series of this particular book series. It's called "I Get a New Enemy for Christmas." Before I left Olympus, I decided to make a few calls. It wasn't easy, but I finally found a quiet fountain in a corner garden and sent an iris message to my brother Tyson under the sea. I told him about our adventures and Bessie. He wanted to hear every detail about the cute baby cow serpent, and I assured him that Annabeth was safe. Finally, I got around to explaining how the shield he made me last summer had been damaged in the Manticore attack. "Yay!" Tyson said. "That means it was good. It saved your life." "It sure did, big guy," I said. "But now it's ruined." "Not ruined," Tyson promised. "I will visit and fix it next summer." The idea picked me up instantly. I guess I hadn't realized how much I missed having Tyson around. "Seriously," I asked, They'll let you take time off?" "Yes. I have 2,741 magic swords," Tyson said proudly, showing me the newest blade. "The boss says good work. He'll let me take the whole summer off. I will visit camp." We talked for a while about war preparations and our dad's fight with the old sea gods and all the cool things we could do together next summer. But then Tyson, his boss, started yelling at him, and he had to get back to work. I dug out my last golden drachma, and I made one more iris message. "Sally Jackson," I said, "Upper East Side, Manhattan." The mist shimmered, and there was my mom at our kitchen table, laughing and holding hands with her friend, Mr. Blowfish. I felt so embarrassed. I was about to wave my hand through the mist and cut the conversation, but before I could, my mom saw me. Her eyes got wide. She let go of Mr. Blowfish's hand real quick. "Oh, Paul, you know what? I left my writing journal in the living room. Would you mind getting it for me?" "Sure, Sally, no problem." He left the room, and instantly my mom leaned toward the iris message. "Percy, are you all right?" "Yeah, I'm fine. How's that writing seminar going?" She pursed her lips. "It's fine, but that's not important. Tell me what happened." I filled her in as quickly as I could. She sighed with relief when she heard that Annabeth was safe. "I knew you could do it," she said. "I'm so proud." "Yeah, well, I better let you get back to your homework." "Percy, Paul and I, Mom, are you happy?" The question seemed to take her by surprise. She thought for a moment. "Yes, I really am, Percy. I'm being around him makes me happy." "Then it's cool. Seriously, don't worry about me." The funny thing was, I meant it. Considering the quest I just had, maybe I should have been worried for my mom. I'd seen just how mean people could be to each other, like Hercules was to Zoe Nightshade, like Luke was to Thalia. I met Aphrodite, the goddess of love, in person, and her powers had scared me worse than Ares. But seeing my mother smiling and laughing and smiling after all the years she'd suffered with my nasty ex-stepfather, Gabe Ogliano, I couldn't help feeling happy for her. "You promised not to call him Mr. Blowfish?" she asked. I shrugged. "You promised not to call him Mr. Blowfish?" She asked. I shrugged. "Well, maybe not to his face, anyway." "Sally," Mr. Blowfish called from our living room. You need the green binder or the red one?" "I better go," she told me. "See you for Christmas." "Are you putting blue candy in my stocking?" She smiled. "If you're not too old for that." "I'm never too old for candy." "I'll see you then." She waved her hand across the mist and her image disappeared. And I thought to myself that Thalia had been right. So many days ago at Westover Hall. My mom Really was pretty cool. I compared Mount Olymp. I compared Mount Olympus. Oh, I'm sorry. Compared to Mount Olympus, Manhattan was quiet. Friday before Christmas, but it was early in the morning, and hardly anyone was on Fifth Avenue. Argus, the many-eyed security chief, picked up Annabeth, Grover, and me at the Empire State Building and ferried us back to camp through a light snowstorm. The Long Island Expressway was almost deserted. As we trudged back up Half Blood Hill to the pine tree where the golden fleece glittered, I half expected to see Thalia there, waiting for us. But she wasn't. She was long gone with Artemis and the rest of the hunters, off on their next adventure. Chiron greeted us at the big house with hot chocolate and toasted cheese sandwiches, excuse me. Grover went off with his satyr friends to spread the word about our strange encounter with the magic of Pan. Within an hour, the satyrs were all running around agitated, asking where the nearest espresso bar was. Annabeth and I sat with Chiron and some of the other senior campers, Beckendorf, Selena Beauregard, and the Stoll brothers. Even Clarice from the Aries cabin was there, back from her secretive scouting mission. I knew she must have had a difficult quest because she didn't even try to pulverize me. She had a new scar on her chin, and her dirty blonde hair had been cut short and ragged, like someone had attacked it with a pair of safety scissors. I got news, she mumbled uneasily. Bad news. I'll fill you in later, Chiron said with the forced cheerfulness. The important thing is you have prevailed, and you saved Annabeth. Annabeth smiled at me gratefully, which made me look away. For some strange reason, I found myself thinking about Hoover Dam and that odd mortal girl I'd run into there, Rachel Elizabeth Dare. I didn't know why, but her annoying comments kept coming back to me. Do you always kill people when they blow their nose? I was only alive because so many people had helped me. Even a random mortal girl like that. I never even explained to her who I was. Luke is alive, I said. Annabeth was right. Annabeth sat up. How do you know? I tried not to feel annoyed by her interest. I told her that what my dad had said about the Princess Andromeda. Well, Annabeth said, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. If the final battle does come when Percy is 16, at least we have 2 more years to figure something out. I had a feeling that when she said I've had a feeling that when she said figure something out, she meant get Luke to change his ways, which annoyed me even more. Chiron's expression was gloomy, sitting by the fire in his wheelchair. He looked really old. I mean, he was really old, but he didn't usually look it. 2 years may seem like a long time, he said, but it is in the blink of an eye. I still hope you are not the child of the prophecy, Percy. If you are, then the Second Titan War is almost upon us. Kronos' first strike will be here. How do you know? I asked. Why would he care about camp? Because the gods use heroes as their tools, Chiron said simply. Destroy the tools, and the gods will be crippled. Luke's forces will come here. Mortal, demigod, monstrous. We must be prepared. Clarice's news may give us a clue as to how they will attack. But there was a knock at the door, and Nico D'Angelo came huffing into the parlor, his cheeks bright red from the cold. He was smiling, but he looked around anxiously. Hey, where's my sister? Dead silence. I stared at Chiron. I couldn't believe nobody had told him yet. And then I realized why. They'd been waiting for us to appear to tell Nico in person. That was the last thing I wanted to do, but I owed it to Bianca. Hey, Nico, I got up from my comfortable chair. Let's take a walk, okay? We need to talk. He took the news in silence, which somehow made it worse. I kept talking, trying to explain how it had happened, how Bianca had sacrificed herself to save the quest, but I felt like I was only making things worse. She wanted you to have this. I brought out the little god figurine Bianca found in the junkyard. Nico held it in his palm and stared at it. We were standing at the dining pavilion, just where we'd last spoken before I went on the quest. The wind was bitter cold, even with the camp's magical weather protection. Snow fell lightly against the marble steps, and I figured outside the camp borders, there must be a blizzard happening. You promised you would protect her, Nico said. He might as well have stabbed me with a rusty dagger. It would have hurt less than reminding me of my promise. Nico, I said, I tried, but Bianca gave herself up to save the rest of us. I told her not to, but you promised! He glared at me, his eyes rimmed with red. He closed his small fist around the god statue. I shouldn't have trusted you. His voice broke. You lied to me. My nightmares were right. Wait, what nightmares? He flung the god statue to the ground. It clattered across the icy marble. I hate you. She might be alive, I said desperately. You don't know for sure. She's dead. He closed his eyes. His whole body trembled with rage. I should have known it earlier. She's in the fields of apostles, standing before the judges right now, being evaluated. I can feel it. What do you mean you can feel it? Before he could answer, I heard a new sound behind me, a hissing, clattering noise I recognized all too well. I drew my sword and Nico gasped. I swirled and found myself facing 4 skeleton warriors. They grinned fleshless grins and advanced with swords drawn. I wasn't sure how they made it inside the camp, but it didn't matter. I'd never get help in time. They're trying to kill me, Nico screamed. You brought these things. No, I mean, yes, they followed me, but no, Nico, run. They can't be destroyed. I don't trust you. The first skeleton charged. I knocked aside its blade, but the other 3 kept coming. I sliced one in half, but immediately began to knit itself back together. I knocked another's head off, but it just kept fighting. Run, Nico, I yelled. Get help. No. He pressed his hands to his ears. I couldn't fight 4 at once. Not if they wouldn't die. I slashed, swirled, blocked, jabbed, but they just kept advancing. It was only a matter of seconds before the zombies overpowered me. No, Nico shouted louder. Go away! The ground rumbled beneath me and the skeletons froze. I rolled out of the way just as a crack opened at the feet of the 4 warriors. The ground ripped apart like a snapping mouth. Flames erupted from the fissure, and the earth swallowed the skeletons in one loud crunch. Silence. In the place where the skeletons had stood, a 20-foot-long scar wove across the marble floor of the pavilion. Otherwise, there was no sign of the warriors. Awestruck, I looked at Nico. How did you? Go away, he yelled. I hate you. I wish you were dead. The ground didn't swallow me up, but Nico ran down the steps, heading toward the woods. I started to follow, but I slipped and fell to the icy steps. Then I got up. I noticed what I'd slipped on. I picked up the god statue Bianca had retrieved from the junkyard for Nico. The only statue he didn't have, she'd said. A last gift from his sister. I stared at it with dread because now I understood why the face looked familiar. I'd seen it before. It was a statue of Hades, Lord of the Dead. Annabeth and Grover helped me search the woods for hours, but there was no sign of Nico D'Angelo. We have to tell Chiron, Annabeth said, out of breath. No, I said. She and Grover both stared at me. Grover said nervously, what do you mean, no? I was still trying to figure out why I'd said that, but the words spilled out of me. We can't let anyone know. I don't think anyone realizes that Nico is a son of Hades, Annabeth said. Percy, do you have any idea how serious this is? Even Hades broke the oath. This is horrible. I don't think so, I said. I don't think Hades broke the oath. What? He's their dad, I said, but Bianca and Nico have been out of commission for a long time, since even before World War II. The Lotus Casino, Grover said, and he told Annabeth about the conversation we'd had with Bianca on the quest. She and Nico were stuck there for decades. They were born before the oath was made. I nodded. But how did they get out? Annabeth protested. I don't know, I admitted. Bianca had a lawyer said a lawyer came and got them and drove them to Westover Hall. I don't know who that could have been or why. Maybe it's part of this great stirring thing. I don't think Nico understands who he is, but we can't go tell anyone, not even Chiron. If the Olympians find out, I might start finding them. It might start them fighting among each other again, Annabeth said. And that's the last thing we need. Grover looked worried, but you can't hide things from the gods. Not forever. I don't need forever, I said. Just 2 years, until I'm 16. Annabeth paled. But Percy, this means the prophecy might not be about you. It might be about Nico. We have to. No, he said. I chose the prophecy. It will be about me. Why are you saying that? She cried. You want to be responsible for the whole world? It was the last thing I wanted. But I didn't say that. I knew I had to step up and claim it. No, it can't be Nico. I can't let Nico be the one I can't let Nico be in any more danger, I said. I owe that much to his sister. I let them both down. I'm not going to let that poor kid suffer anymore. The poor kid who hates you and wants to see you dead, Grover reminded me. Maybe we can find him, I said. We can convince him it's okay. Hide him someplace safe. Annabeth shivered. If Luke gets hold of him, Luke won't, I said. I'll make sure he's got other things to worry about, namely me. I wasn't sure Chiron believed the story Annabeth and I told him. I think he could tell I was holding something back about Nico's disappearance, but in the end, he accepted it. Unfortunately, Nico wasn't the first half-blood to disappear. So young, Chiron sighed, his hands on the rail of the front porch. Alas, I hope he was eaten by a monster. But much better than being recruited into the Titans' army. That idea made me really uneasy. I almost changed my mind about telling Chiron, but I didn't. You really think the first attack will be here? I asked. Chiron stared at the falling snow on the hills. I could see smoke from the dragon guardian at the pine tree, the glitter of the distant fleece. It will not be until summer, at least, Chiron said. This winter will be hard, the hardest for many centuries. But it's best that you go home and to the city, Percy. Try to keep your mind on school and rest. You will need rest. I looked at Annabeth. What about you? Her cheeks flushed. I'm going to try San Francisco after all. Maybe I can keep an eye on Mount Tam and make sure the Titans don't try anything else. You'll send an Iris message if anything goes wrong? She nodded. But I think Chiron's right. It won't be until the summer. Luke will need time to regain his strength. I didn't like the idea of waiting. Then again, next August, I would be turning 15. So close to 16, I didn't want to think about it. All right, I said. Just take care of yourself and no crazy stunts in the Sopwith camel. She smiled tentatively. Deal. And Percy, whatever she was going to say was interrupted by Grover, who stumbled out of the big house, tripping over tin cans. His face was haggard and pale, like he'd seen a specter. He spoke, Grover cried. Calm down, young satyr. Chiron said, frowning. What is the matter? I I was playing music in the parlor and drinking coffee, lots and lots of coffee, and he spoke in my mind. Who? Annabeth demanded. Pan! Grover wailed. The Lord of the Wild himself, I heard him. I have to find a suitcase. Whoa, 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 I said. What did he say? Grover stared at me. Just 3 words. He said, I await you.